was terrible at science. I was terrible at math. Like,
Fuck, I need this writing gig. It's not gonna go well. I could always find the flaw in anything that I do.
I didn't want to live in anybody's shadow. It just requires a lot of self-discipline, which history has shown me I don't really have.
For you to get a hangover on weed, dude, what the fuck did you do? Like,
Like, you want to be on those stages and you want to show, like, you want to show them what you can do.
My name is Steph, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast. Funny enough, I got to know you basically by reading a review on weed. I think it was Best Buds or something.
Yeah. My monthly column of reviewing government-approved cannabis.
Well, dude, that was the first time, before going into anything else, I opened it because I brought the Cult MTL, issue with me, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, this is an amazing thing. Like, there's always a wine review or a beer fucking review. I don't drink anymore. I'm like, so this is like fantastic. I get to actually get a review of something that I enjoy doing. So that's how I got to know you. And then I dug in and I saw you were a writer. I saw all these other things that you've done. So I'm really excited to have you here. And the fact that you are in pretty good condition after the game last night.
Oh man, barely.
That's like I got worried. I said Dave's not gonna make it, man.
Oh man, I mean, I had to show up a little bit late, but honestly, dude, like, oh man, like I was saying before we started this interview, like, it was possibly the wildest game I have ever witnessed in person.
So based on when we're releasing it, this was Game 3, Washington, Montreal, and what we were talking about earlier. It was, for me too, watching it from a TV perspective was fucking awesome. So I can't even imagine, like we were saying earlier, just the atmosphere of being at the game. Dude, like, maybe we'll start with that a bit, just to we'll talk about that, and then we'll jump into the other stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a miracle that I haven't gone deaf after that. It was man, it had everything, like, like a 6-3 scoreline, like, especially like with a lot of our goals coming in the third period. Oh man, what else?
So the fight on the bench.
The fight on the bench between Josh Anderson and Tom Wilson. Both Montembeault and Logan Thompson getting injured.
It had everything.
Yeah, and and then once Dobesh came in, some random dude sat as the backup goalie, the emergency backup.
I thought it was
goalie.
A joke at first. I was like, I thought somebody AI'd that shit this morning. When I saw it, I said, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
What I mean? Yeah, so it had everything, honestly. It was such a fun game to watch.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was, I mean, I was literally in the Molson X zone, so like the second row from the very, very back. But honestly, like, is there a bad seat in the house during a playoff game at the Bell Center? I don't think so.
Well, in general, the Bell Center is one of those arenas, like we were saying earlier, like every spot in the house is a good spot.
Yeah.
It's one of those places where it's really, depending on how much you're willing to spend is really what you're making a decision on, because the quality of like the viewing in the building is awesome.
Yeah.
And then, being in a playoff setting, 6-3, like you were saying, fucking fight. There was everything in this game that, like, it was the best money. One of the best, like, investments at that point. It's like a memory you just created there.
Oh, 100%. Like, $320 felt like chump change after that. And it was like, oh man, it's just, it was so wild because, like, me and my bestie Matt, who I went to the game with, like, we were busy celebrating a goal, and then out of the blue, like, oh shit, what the hell? Like, Anderson's fighting Tom Wilson on the bench.
Yeah, it honestly, like I said, it had everything you would want. It felt like an old school playoff game, like a Nordiques Habs type vibe going on. There was that animosity on the ice. There was anger. There was just everything about it made the emotions just like fucking come out big time last night.
Yeah. Oh man, speaking of the Nordiques, did you see that clip of that guy in a Nordiques jersey, like, chirping Tom Wilson?
He was F-bombing him through the, like, it was, are you talking about the one that when they were at the boards and they were just like, everything was happening?
There's like a guy
little kid, and there's a little kid.
it wasn't a little kid. It was a fully grown man,
But
like
there was a little kid,
chirping him.
and there was a little kid right next to him. So that's why I was laughing, because if we're talking about the same one, because I'm sure it's the same guy.
Probably, yeah.
And he's middle fingers everywhere. He's just losing it. And then I'm just looking. There's this little girl like tuk, 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 right now. There's this psychopath. No, but so besides hockey, I'm really excited to have you here, and just to learn a little more, because I found it was interesting. The article, and then digging in, that there was so many other pieces behind you that first question I want to ask you is, what are you working on right now that you're super like excited about, or maybe you want people to know that don't know who you are right now in the city?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of already gave a great intro, but yeah, I'm a writer, mostly about music and sometimes sports, sometimes weed, obviously. And but I like to consider myself a pretty well-rounded writer, and yeah, I'm at the moment, I'm working a different kind of job to pay the bills, but because writing and YouTube haven't or they're not doing that for me at this moment. Hopefully, one day, but yeah, but during my time away from that job, I'm busy like working on my writing and also on YouTube, and I like I decided to start a YouTube channel called Sound and Vision,
Yeah.
named after the David Bowie song, because I, of course, am a David. So
Perfect.
yeah,
I'm David. He's David. We're
yeah,
one.
exactly. Yeah, no, it's yeah, so I've been using that as a big creative outlet, because I like for a long time I've been into video essays on YouTube.
Mhm.
Like I don't know how familiar you are with channels like Trash Theory or Mike
No.
the Snare, or
No.
like any of those like music oriented video essay channels. Like my style is definitely like modeled like after those guys. So
So because I'm not a big, I don't know them. So like maybe what is a music essay? If you could
yeah,
maybe.
so basically like when you like I mean I basically write like essays about like entire songs or entire albums, and
Okay.
like talk about like how they were developed, like what their cultural significance was, like
It's so funny. I didn't know like that. That's what it was called, because it was something that I wanted to do like years ago. Because I was like, oh man, the Stevie Ray Vaughan album as an example, or whatever it was,
yeah.
and I love digging in to how the album was made, or
Yeah,
like the
that's
people that were involved, not just like the face of the cover art, but I mean like really digging in, and the sound engineers. I still always loved reading when I would buy a CD when I was a kid. I'd love the booklet, and I would just
yeah.
read about them, and then I would try to find articles of like what they were doing behind the scenes. So is it that kind of idea where you're
Yeah,
digging,
sort
really
of. I
digging
mean,
in?
like, yeah, like I just research the hell out of the song or the album, and I mean, it's basically the equivalent of taking a written article and converting it into like a visual project,
How
right?
long does it
So
take to do like, because it sounds like there's a lot of work from a research
yeah,
perspective,
no,
then putting a
it
video.
yeah, like it can take me weeks to get them done, and I don't know how other people can just like pump them out like constantly, but it cuz for me it takes a lot of effort and care and time, and like cuz you want it to be like excellent, right? And
Sorry, continue. Yeah.
you want it to be like you want it to be the absolute best it can be. So yeah, I mean, like with my channel, I've been focusing a bit on like Canadian music, because I mean, obviously I'm Canadian, but also I'm on the jury for the Polaris Music Prize, so I get to vote on the best Canadian album every year.
Nice.
So and the winner gets like a $50,000 prize. So yeah, and so like I've made a couple of videos on my channel about like Canadian stuff. Like I made an Alexis on Fire video not too long ago, and I some of those clips blew up on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to the point where their drummer liked one of my videos.
Isn't it wild when someone like that, like there's such a big separation from this person, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden there's this connection that happens, and kind of reminds you how the internet really democratizes this in a sense where everyone has an opportunity to connect.
Yeah, pretty much. No, it's wild how interconnected the internet in general is, let alone YouTube. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I made a video about Alexis on Fire's "Watch Out." their second album from 2004, and prior to that, I did a video about Lens Steal My Sunshine that broke 100,000 views,
Wow.
which was absolutely wild to me because like for I think for like the first couple of weeks it only had like 1 or 2 views, and then like all of
So
a
what
sudden out
changed?
of nowhere, I don't know, the algorithm works in
Fuck, dude.
mysterious ways,
That
man. I
fucking
do
algorithm.
not get it. Like, I mean, I'm sure probably it was likely because the algorithm started showing it to people who were watching the song's music video.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah,
like
there's the connection to
so
it.
yeah, like the official like music video was redirecting people to my video. And because it was summertime and it's a quintessential summer anthem, like people, I guess, started clicking more and more on my video. And yeah, that that was one of the videos that helped me get to 1,000 subscribers, which is what allowed me to get monetized on
Yeah.
YouTube.
How does
So
it feel now that you crossed that line? Because I'm same thing. My goal is to inevitably monetize the channel, right? So
yeah.
I'd love for these views to actually start paying me one day, So the build up is for that, and then to finally achieve it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day that if it ever happens, that's one, because we assume it happens, but we don't know if it's gonna happen. But
Right.
you know, you cross that line now, so you're kind of on the other side of the business side of it now.
Yeah, for sure. It's just it's just been a little bit rough going since then to try making videos that even come close to that kind of view count. It's been a bit of a struggle, if I'm being honest, to recapture that so far. But I mean, I still have a lot of ideas in the pipeline for my channel that I want to work on and that I want to develop. So yeah, I mean, it's just I mean, like I said earlier, hopefully it'll pay the bills one day. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? But I mean, it's a nice little bit of extra cash for now, but yeah, I need to put out more videos so I can maximize its potential.
Well, it's funny because there's always the concept of one day maybe this video can do it. And something that someone told me this once a while ago, he's like, the moment you even get 1 penny from something that you created, it just the mind shift of it is like, oh, this is real now.
Yeah.
It's not like an idea. It's not something like something you put out in the middle of all this chaos. Somehow got enough attention to get that threshold of 1,000 subscribers. Like already that is already something
Yeah.
you've achieved. But now it's like, okay, fuck, I actually got a dollar put into the
Yeah.
account, and you're like, oh shit. Now that someone told me this, the same person is like, the decimal is up to you.
Yeah.
He's like, it's gonna be $1, it could be 1,000, it could be 10,000, it could be 1,000,000. It's really up to you because now that you know that it's possible, how much effort are you willing to put into it? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like in an ideal world, like I would just like have this as my full-time job so I
Same.
could just like, like devote 9 to 5
Yeah.
hours to working on videos, because I mean, like I said, like they take a lot of time, they take a lot of effort, but I mean also like I mean, it's also just the dream to like be able to make money off of your own imagination, isn't it?
That's the wild thing. Like, writing or playing music, when you actually can make a living off it, you are kind of living that dream. It doesn't have to. Everyone always thinks the dream is like this mansion, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's just that I could live the life that I want to live
Yeah,
without having to do
exactly.
a job I don't want to do.
Exactly. Exactly. Like you're basically your own boss. You're in control of your own destiny. It just requires a lot of self-discipline too, which history has shown me I don't really have, at least not yet. So,
Dude, that's the hardest. I would say the make or break with anything is the discipline part. It's
yeah.
really not the quality. So that was a question I wanted to ask you earlier. Is I know at one point when I started the podcast, the fear that was hurting me was I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah. Same.
And I'm my own worst enemy because I could
Mm,
always find the flaw in anything that I do. And even now when I release something, I see flaws. I see progress, but always notice the flaws.
yeah, same.
It was really hard for me to deal with that. How are you dealing with that in general? Like when it comes to writing, when it comes to the videos, how are you trying to manage that?
Manage
Just
just
that internal constant nag of it's not good enough.
yeah, I mean I mean, it can definitely be an obstacle towards getting something done in the timeline you want it to, because you're so full of self-doubt. And I mean, even after certain YouTube videos are published, like I'll watch them back and I'll be like, oh shit, I made this editing error or that editing error. Fuck, I wish I could just replace it and re-upload and keep the same view count. But
That's the good thing about YouTube. You do that, you're fucked. You know, like you lose the count. So it's
yeah, like I don't want to lose the count, so I'm not gonna do that. But it's like, still like part of you like wishes like, fuck, I wish I could just re-upload it because I noticed all these like tiny mistakes, because like, like it, because I can be a bit of a malignant perfectionist
yeah,
myself, so it's like it can be quite easy to zero in on the flaws versus like focusing on like the 95% of
yeah.
it that turned out great. But but yeah, no, it's been a very rewarding experience so far, do, doing this channel, and also, being involved with Cult Montreal on the side. I mean, shout
How
out.
did that start, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you want to do a shout out first to someone and then.
Yeah, I was gonna say shout out to Lorraine and Tim who run Cult Montreal, but they've been absolutely incredible to me since I started writing for them, which was during the pandemic. Actually, I pitched an article idea because I had always wanted to write for Cult Montreal. Like I had been following them from afar for like basically ever since they were still the Montreal Mirror.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
and like basically like literally like I think I was still living in Calgary, my hometown, and reading Cult, or not Cult, reading the Mirror on online like from afar.
Why?
And
What? Like, what made you want to do that from Calgary? Like,
I knew I was gonna be like attending journalism school at Concordia
okay,
in
so you
Montreal.
okay? That
So
was okay.
yeah, so like
I was like, because why the fuck is some guy?
I kind of wanted like to have a window of Montreal culture
Okay,
before I got there. So yeah, it was it was always something I wanted to do. So in November 2020, I think I pitched an idea of because at the time there was this movement to excuse me, this movement to increase the payout rate for musicians for Spotify
oh
streams,
yes, I
or
saw that on
yeah,
your.
there was like a campaign for that. And so I decided, you know what, I'll ask a couple local artists like if how much this would actually like impact them, or like how much this would actually like improve their revenue streams
Mm.
for music. And so I successfully pitched it to a Cult, and the piece came out. And yeah, it got really well received when I published it, and yeah, I just kept going from there, and they've been nothing short of exceptional to me ever since. And they like I love I love everybody who's involved with Cult. Like it's a very tight knit kind of community.
Yeah,
It's yeah, no, it's there's a lot of great people who are involved with it. And yeah, I've just been doing that ever since. And my best buds column kind of came
yeah.
on a total whim too. Like it was like I just randomly thought one day, you know what? What if there was a column where somebody like reviews SQDC weed products?
A great
And
idea, dude. That was what caught my attention. Like,
yeah, yeah, and so I pitched it to like I just thought of the name Best Buds like pretty
perfect.
quickly. Although in retrospect, I probably could have also chosen like Bonjour Hi, like HIGH. And then I realized, oh shit, like my friends in Calgary won't get that reference.
Best Buds is awesome though. It's perfect. That's a name. Bonjour
Yeah.
High would be a good one too. But that's definitely a local vibe to it.
Yeah, no, it's a little I decided it was a little too local,
Yeah.
so yeah.
But okay, so Cult MTL, like, you end up submitting this, but you had studied journalism at Concordia. But what were some of the first pieces like that you wrote that got noticed? Let's say when you first started, and or maybe even take it back. What made you want to get into writing to begin with?
Oh man. So I'd say there were a few big factors. One was that I was always just really good at like English in school growing up. Like I was it was always a subject I excelled at more than I mean I was decent at social studies, but I was terrible at science. I was terrible at math. I
Like,
like
fuck, I need this writing gig. It's not gonna go well.
yeah, no, like it was yeah, it was me wanting to build a career where I was playing to my strengths,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much what
How
it
did you
was.
know that was your strength though? Like, what was it about? Like, what was about English class? Let's say as an example that
I
was
I don't
different than math. You know what I
I
mean?
don't know. It's I guess it's one of those innate things where it's just like writing and like English grammar and spelling and all that came so much more naturally to
Mm.
me than a lot of other things in school. But yeah, I mean, also another factor is well, also like my mom's originally from Montreal, right?
Okay.
So my uncle was writing for the Montreal Gazette for like 30 years. Like
Who's your
his
uncle?
John Griffin.
Okay, because I worked at the Gazette for like a short stint of like maybe
Yeah.
6 months, and it was like
Oh, okay.
it was
Yeah.
it was a while ago, and then I ended up getting another gig somewhere else. But it was
Right.
just like that's why to the Gazette. I was wondering who the writer was.
Yeah. No, he worked there from like the 80s until 2010,
Oh,
which
wow.
is when he got an early like the Gazette like gave him like an early buyout so
Yeah,
he could retire
yeah, walk
early.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, so he took that and yeah, but no, he was working for the Gazette for like 30 years and first as a music critic and then he did like the movie side there and
There's always an uncle, dude. It's always an uncle for some reason. Even me, my guitar was my uncle that showed me how to like the first Stairway to Heaven.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Or House
yeah.
of the Rising Sun. It's always an uncle you hear of that's doing
Oh,
something cool.
oh yeah, no, and he was like very much the music nerd of my entire family. I just remember going into his office as a kid and like wall to wall just vinyl records
Yeah.
like on like a huge like on huge shelves and stuff like that and I mean when I was 12 I came to visit Montreal and he literally took me to the Gazette office one day and yeah it was pretty wild and and yeah like I mean I will say though that I know people will listen to this and think Nepo baby, but like
No.
I've never tried to use him to get ahead in any
The,
kind of way.
there's a few things that, yes, in every context, I never like the nepo baby stuff because even with acting or whatever it is, yes, you can have an opportunity to play a role in a movie. But if you're not a good actor, you're not going to get hired again, most likely. So if you're not a
Yeah.
good writer, like everyone has some sort of person that has to help them open a door.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's unfair to people when they say that like maybe that first time if they only had ever written one article, okay, well maybe the nepo baby is you got that opportunity because it was your uncle, but to still be in writing and to still have people
Yeah.
publish your stories,
Yeah.
longevity just removes the nepo baby idea.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like ultimately, like it was like that dream was ultimately all mine. But it just helped that I had
An
an
influence.
uncle who was succeeding in the industry to help like supercharge those desires. And I mean, ultimately, like I I never used him to like I never mentioned him in my like journalism school application or anything. Like I have always wanted to be judged on my merits and my merits alone. And like I remember like when I was in school I had a couple professors who happened to be friends with my uncle. And like I was just like, okay, I'm not going to say shit about my connection
Yeah.
to my uncle because I don't want that to influence how those teachers graded my work. So
I feel like when someone has this person that can open the doors, if you really like what you're doing, it's almost it hinders you a bit
yeah,
because you're afraid to leverage that. You want to make your own place. You want to do all your
exactly.
stuff. So you almost deleverage.
Yeah, yeah,
you're not leveraging it to its fullest capability because then you don't want to be known for the nephew of this person.
exactly. Like I didn't want to live in anybody's shadow. I wanted to build a distinct identity for myself and for my writing and yeah, that's what I feel like I've done up to now. And yeah, besides that, I mean, obviously, like, so there was the English the English part in high school, or in school in general. There was the uncle part, and also, I mean, as a teenager, I watched Almost Famous once.
Oh, dude, was that movie fucking phenomenal? That movie made me want to be a writer, and I sucked at English. I was like, maybe I'm gonna start writing because I want to be on tour with bands. That was
Yeah.
like, I looked at that movie and it was like a dream come true. Outside
Oh
of being
yeah.
I wanted to be the rock star, and then when I realized that that wasn't gonna happen, like maybe I could be a writer for Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah, no, and like I've always been more drawn to the writing and the journalistic side of music versus like actually being a musician. Because I dabbled in music like growing up. Like I tried taking piano lessons, I tried singing, I tried playing
tried
drums.
everything.
I,
Just didn't work.
I tried playing drums, and I was pretty good at it
Okay.
when I was younger. I tried playing guitar as well. So like music has always been like an overarching influence in my life. It just manifested itself in a very different kind of way.
Well, I think when you're younger, you also have a very narrow minded of what the music industry or music business is like. So you think unless you're the performer, what other job is there?
Yeah.
It's like you kind of like a bit blind to, you're naive to the fact that there's a whole system behind this that
Yeah.
makes this person. It makes it capable or a possibility for this person to be on stage. There's the sound guys, there's the light guys, there
Yeah.
is the stage. There's just a whole process from a live gig. Then there's the whole business side of it, from being involved, from legal. There's so many aspects of music.
It takes a
divisions.
village.
It takes a real village for this one act to get noticed. And I was a bit naive to that. I was like, oh, if you're not a rock star, like what else could you do? When you're younger. But the fact that you kind of leverage that, or not leverage, but realize that early on, like what was the shift all of a sudden to say like, oh, I like dabbling, but you know what? I'd rather write.
Yeah, I just realized that like I wasn't really good enough at an instrument to leverage that into a career. And I mean, how many people can say they've been able to do that? Like there are so many musicians out there who have all the talent, who have all the chops, but for some reason never get noticed or never truly make that breakthrough. So it's clearly a very exclusive club of musicians
Yeah.
who get to reach that next level. And even when they do, it's like it ends up being kind of a poison chalice for them a lot of the time.
A lot of times they don't realize what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. Like
And for you, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so now you had realized there was that connection to music journalism. Um, were you worried that because it was so specific to music journalism that it would be a problem in the future, or like not being more open to all types of journalism, or did you focus right? Like, did that turn into a focus?
I mean, it like music was always my main subject of interest, but I've always been open to write about other things. Like, I mean, I've written opinion pieces about the Habs numerous times for Cult Montreal too, and I've written about weed for them, and I'm open to writing about all kinds of other things too, because I feel like having a diverse skill set is one of the most important things you can have as a writer. Because I mean, let's be real, opportunities are very scarce in our field, and it can be difficult to stand out.
Yeah. And so what was the first piece that got picked up? Was it through Cult MTL or Montreal, or was it through another publication?
Well, I mean the first like the very first bit of journalism I ever did back in the day was right out of high school. It was in Calgary. It was for a music publication there. And yeah, I just did a few album reviews for them. I didn't get paid at the time, obviously. It was all just to get my foot in the door.
Why do they isn't it kind of like that is, with art, they always like make you do free shit.
I know,
It's like fucking
sucks,
like,
dude.
is it possible that why is it always this fucking free stuff on, like it's always like no expectation of money
Yeah.
because you love it. Because
Yeah,
you love it and you're
it's
passionate, we're gonna fuck you on your money.
Yeah, it can be a total labor of love at times. And like I mean, I'm glad that I'm in a place where I can make money off of my writing, but Yeah, I mean, it kind of exposes an underlying problem with the journalism industry itself, in the sense that, or the media industry in general, like it exposes how like exploitative the industry can be,
Yeah.
because they know that there are
You would love to be
people,
in it, yeah.
yeah, like they know that there are like young upstarts fresh out of university who will just write for free just to get their foot in the door.
Yeah.
And that's why you see like some publications being like, oh, we can't pay you, this is an unpaid internship, but we'll pay you in exposure. And it's like, no, fuck off. Like exposure isn't gonna pay my rent,
I
bro.
know, but that's what it is. It's like it's this weird. And I remember I had that same experience when I went into the media business at the beginning. It was really like we didn't have a pay. Like it was all commission. Like so, and one of the biggest media companies in Canada
Yeah.
wasn't paying a salary. Then it was all commission for the, and we were selling like millions of dollars of advertising, and it was all based on like, and we made great money on it. But the concept of not having a base,
Yeah.
when you think about it, when I think about it now, I'm like, so wait a minute, I'm taking all the risk, I'm doing all the work, and if it doesn't pay out, I don't make anything.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget there was one month where I owed money because it was like a draw. And when that happened, when I worked a month and we would get paid once a month, uh, and I owed money in the end. I
Oh
was
my
like,
god.
this is fucking wild. This is insane. So that was kind of like a shift. I remember it never happened again because I was like, I am never working to owe money. It was like the weirdest, that is the biggest, like the shittiest feeling I've ever had from a work perspective.
Oh my god,
Dude,
dude.
imagine working a full month and you owe them money.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, it was a mind fuck. And that never happened ever again in my career of just like, I'm going to pay someone to work. This is absolutely insane. And, but I know why I did that because I just wanted to be in the media business so bad. And I was young, I was like 27, 28.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing
Yeah.
to take that. And I had obviously less expenses. It was a different lifestyle. But fuck, when I think about it now, it's an insane concept of we're not even going to pay you. Like it's literally eat what you kill. That's it. And
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah, no, it's like, and in a way it kind of speaks to how the music industry can be too.
Yeah.
Like it's like there are lots of execs who will prey on youthful ignorance to
Yeah.
like how the industry works, just because they're so desperate to make their breakthrough that they'll just do anything to, if it'll help them get ahead. And it ends up damaging them in a lot of cases psychologically. Like I was actually watching this documentary, like this BBC documentary called Boy Bands Forever, about like all these like
I heard the title. I didn't
yeah,
watch
it
it
was
though.
like they talk about these British and Irish boy bands like from like the 90s and the 2000s who like oh man, like the shit they had to go through is so fucking dehumanizing.
Well,
Like
what it to me, I had to jump in there. It's dehumanizing, but you have like the other part of it is that you're willing to participate as the artist.
yeah.
Like so, it also speaks volumes of what you're willing to do for fame and fortune. And
Yeah.
so there's like that underlying thing of like, well, why is this so important
Yeah. Yeah,
to you
but
as an individual to be willing to dehumanize yourself for this? You know, it's like
yeah.
that's the underlying part that I started seeing as I got older. I'm like, there's something wrong to begin with that the fact that you're willing to do this for
Yeah.
for money and fame.
Yeah, and it's just like, and at the end of the day, like, not many people come out of that experience unscathed.
Oh,
Like it's
big
you
time.
you end up with some degree of psychological damage after that entire experience, and it's like because you're so relentlessly like busy, and like you're not like to the point where you don't even have you left, like
Yeah.
you don't even have your own identity anymore. In a way, like your identity is so attached to the group you're in, or like whatever, like or whatever you're doing musically. And oh man, like they talk about all these like insane like how insanely overworked these like the members of these boy bands
Oh
were,
my,
like
yeah,
and
it's like
and
cattle, dude. It's like
it's
cattle.
it's fucking ridiculous. And like they literally interview fucking Simon Cowell, who put some of these groups together, and they talk to him about like the relentless workload, and he's just like, well, if you don't want that, be an accountant. You can't have it both ways. And
Yeah.
it's like, fuck off, dude.
Are you working that hard? You know, like
No.
that's what I'm saying. It's like I
You're,
love
you're
these guys.
making, you're probably making more money than any of the members of those boy bands are making,
You've
bro.
made these guys. The problem with a lot of those guys is that they made money regardless of you being successful.
Yeah.
They made money off every contract that they did. They probably, you know, it's kind of like a contractor, right? So they're making a cut off all these contracts, whether or not you were successful.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you just reminded me of a past guest, Jess Abram.
Jess Abram,
Yeah.
yes.
So Jess had told me the story when she was on the show, and one person, because she has curly hair, it's very distinctive, right? It's part of her look. And the guy's like, curly hair's not in. And they made her at the time like kind of straighten her hair, if I remember correctly, like of the story. And so there was a song that I liked. She's like, funny. She goes, when I hear that song, I remember the terrible feeling I had of someone telling me like my natural thing wasn't good enough and I had to go another way. And so she did that for the photo shoot, and she just did. She felt so uncomfortable, and that was just on one scale, right? Of just changing your hair. So I could imagine and it had an impact on her in the sense of her own identity.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, you know, when it starts going even crazier, like the things that someone might ask you to do that are completely off script for you, from the type of writing, the type of music you're writing, the look you have and everything. It's almost a constant, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you how to be. And then, you know, and then all of a sudden, if you don't make it, you're like, oh my God, who the fuck am I at a certain point, you know?
Yeah, no, it's like one of the members of those groups was literally like there was no, like when he was interviewed in the documentary, he was like, after a while there is no you left. Like you become 100% a commodity and a product.
It's wild.
It is all kinds of dehumanizing, and it gets sold both to them and to the public as like this dream job, but it sounds honestly like a fucking nightmare.
Well, that's what it is once you start, like, once you actually go into these things, you realize that it's, I saw this this podcast, I don't remember what it was, and he was talking, it was Shaq, I think it was Shaq's podcast.
Okay.
And he's like, I realized at that point that sports too, like, we as a media business, or in the media business, you build up these rivalries, but they're usually not rivals like outside where they'll be having drinks together. And he's like, that changed his whole perspective of sports.
Yeah.
Once he saw that the guys of the game that he just watched that looked like they were going to kill each other were having a drink together after the game, he's like, oh yeah, this is entertainment still. Like we there is that line where you forget that there's the one. Now once playoffs come in, it's different. You know, like people want to win that cup. They want that thing.
Yeah.
And that's why the games are so much better.
Yeah.
It does change. I can't watch the regular season anymore. I just
Really?
can't. I can't. It's too long. The play is just, you can tell that there is the only time it starts getting interesting for me in sports is like 15 games before the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because I can't watch the beginning of the season. Like there's that hype. Then it's so long. 82 games. I find it's just too long for me. Baseball, 160. It's like, this is fucking wild.
There's like, I can't get into baseball. I'm sorry.
You could lose 60 games and still be the best team.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's fucking wild. Then you have football, which is like the other extreme. You miss 2 weeks, forget it. You're lost in the whole game, which is one element that's cool. But the series, like, you see that change now. Like, and once that happens and you see there's that extra push, it becomes real again. Like, you could see there's a reason to be here. And I find, like, with writing or with music or with anything, whenever someone is really into it, it just shines through. And I found, like, when I read your article, it was someone that actually wanted to write this article. And that's why I was like, it stopped me in my tracks. Reading the Best Buds, I'm like, this is a fun article to read. And like, I want to know this guy. Like, I want to hang out with him. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, coming back into to what you do, it was like, there was something special in there. And then when we look back a bit on what you're doing, that it was really there. And I find when someone is working another job while they're doing this to build it, they give a fuck for real.
Yeah.
Because they really don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You know, like, because there isn't as much money right now, but you're building it.
Yeah.
And that's what's so nice about it, is that, like, seeing you succeed now on the YouTube channel, and now it starts monetizing. It's like, okay, fuck, so it's worth making this. Like, it just kind of validates what you already knew.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's an absolute grind, don't get me wrong, but I mean, for the most part, it's been an incredibly rewarding experience. And I mean, And I mean, just with writing too, like I've been lucky enough to travel out of town to go to music festivals and stuff. And like I remember in 2015, I was writing for a different outlet that unfortunately no longer exists. But me and the boss there and two other guys, we traveled to New York for the Governor's Ball Festival,
Oh, nice.
and it was a whirlwind experience. We were in a shitty hotel in fucking in Queens, like next to LaGuardia Airport.
Ugh.
Like I was scared I was gonna get shot the whole time.
LaGuardia is already a shithole.
Oh no, it was fucking depressing,
Yeah.
dude. Like it was not at all what I expected from New York City. But I mean, obviously the festival itself was amazing, and it was a really wild experience. And then
What was it about? Like, what was it that made it wild for you? Like, when you think about it now, like it's stuck in your mind. What was it?
I mean, it was kind of like Osheaga, but it was a smaller, like it was a smaller park. Like it was Randall's Island Park, so it was basically a golf course. And you know, just also just people put a lot more effort into like how they dressed, and like I saw some of the wildest outfits there. And also just knowing that you could go from like watching the war on drugs on one stage and then running to the other to watch fucking Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
Like,
The spect.
it was wild. But like yeah, so yeah, that festival has stuck long in my memory ever since. And 2 years ago, I got to well, I mean, I paid my way through this one, but I flew to the UK to go to this festival called The Great Escape, which is basically just South by Southwest but British. And it's held in Brighton, which is like an hour south of London, and it's like
Nice.
right on the beach. So
Oh, it must have been wild, man.
oh yeah, it's like the closest thing to a Miami you can find in the UK.
In the UK, who would have thought?
Yeah, just like a Pebble Beach, Miami.
But so like you now, and I saw that you also wrote for you wrote an article about Sum 41. Like
I did. I got to interview Brownsound from Sum 41.
that's amazing, and that was published in
The National
Post.
Post,
That's it. I
yeah.
was like, yeah, okay. And so now we're seeing all these pieces are starting to go on a national scale too. Like,
Yeah, no, that was
how did it
wild.
feel? Yeah, how did it feel to see your? Now that I know that your uncle is in the Gazette, let's say as an example.
Yeah.
How does it feel to know that you have a piece too that was published in a national paper?
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
No,
mean?
it was pretty surreal. I'll say that. I mean, I will say that like I unfortunately would have liked the piece to be longer because there was a ton of great interview footage with Brownsound, whose name is also Dave. That I unfortunately had to leave on the cutting room floor. But yeah, no, it's just so surreal that I got to talk to any member of Sum 41,
Yeah.
especially because like it was for their farewell tour, right? Like it was to preview their appearance at the Junos
Yeah.
this year, because they were getting inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. And yeah, so me and Dave Brownsound, we just shot the shit over the phone about all of that and about the history of the band. And yeah, he was clearly happy to have somebody to talk to while he was stuck idling in Toronto traffic. So yeah, no, so yeah, like I got to do that.
You know, we spoke about Almost Famous just
Yeah.
like 10 whatever 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Was that kind of running through your mind a bit? Like
Oh.
when he's talking at the end of the movie,
Yeah, a
when he's
little
talking
bit,
with him and he's
yeah.
like, okay, you know, to come over, and then he ends up coming to the house to end up doing the interview. But like, just the whole concept of talking with someone that had made it in the rock industry. And
Yeah.
just, like
And-
I'm feeling the Almost Famous vibes. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah, and like getting to pick his brain about like some of the things Sum 41 did when I was a 10-year-old boy. Like you know, like I got to talk to him about like the In Too Deep video, for example.
that was
Like
a great video.
when he was like in the pool, like
They're
coming
coming
out
out and
and
rip
like playing
solo.
guitar, and
I
I
remember
was
that
like,
video.
yeah, and he was like, oh man, that shoot was so rough. Like I kept having to like dunk my head in and out of the water, in
Oh,
and
dude,
out, in
that
and
was a
out,
great
in and
video.
out, and like having to hold my breath every single time. And like he said that was inspired by a Guns N' Roses video where Slash does that. I think the
Oh,
Estranged,
strange. I was gonna say, I
the
think that's.
Estranged video by Guns N' Roses.
Oh
He
fuck! I
said
never know because they
he,
were huge, like metal guys. Like they
yeah,
loved
yeah,
Iron Maiden. I
yeah,
remember.
no, they're metalheads, those guys,
Yeah, they can
and
rip, dude. Like I've seen. I saw some 41 a long time ago,
yeah,
like 1999 ish.
whoa,
Like really like it was. What was the festival? Somersault, I think, was
okay,
something like that. I don't remember, but it was. I saw them and they were great live. They
yeah.
were fucking great, and he was just ripping. They were doing their harmonies on guitar, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I didn't realize that time, and then I slowly started realizing they were big Maiden fans. They were big like metal guys. Like they
Oh
loved all
yeah,
this
no,
stuff.
they're yeah. I mean, you know, like the lyric in Fat Lip, heavy metal and bullets is how we were raised. Like
Yeah,
it's legit.
yeah.
That is how they were
Fucking love
raised.
that song. I still love that song, man. Wow, that brings me back. That's a
Yeah,
really
yeah, no, like that was obviously an incredible honor to get to talk to him. And yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough to use journalism to chat with people who, you know, left a mark on me in my childhood, you know, and just as a way of saying like thank you for being there through my TV screen. Like for example, I've gotten to interview I mean, I don't know how much music you watched back in the day, but Sookyun Lee.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I
Okay.
got to interview her, and then I got to meet her when she because she has a music side project, and she played in Montreal one night, and yeah, I got to meet her in person there, and
It's wild when you meet people. Like for me, I know I was just on a smaller scale too. Was when I got the job at CTV. I remember in the interview I said there's one thing that they're like, well, what is it that you would want, you know, like considering negotiations and was we're talking about like pay, which obviously
yeah,
$0. It was like, okay, there's not much negotiate. I said I need to meet Randy Tiemann. I was a huge, like, obviously sports. I used to love. I grew up watching him on TV,
yeah,
and that was my
yeah,
joke. I'm like, the only ask is I need to meet Randy Tiemann, like when I get hired. Like I just want to get to know him, and then over the years I got to know him. We played golf together after, and it was
yeah,
like, and it was just like surreal that this face that I had grown up with watching on TV every night. That was my sports guy. You know, for years I'd watch CTV News and it was sports.
oh
Like I was
yeah,
waiting for Randy to come on and give me like the Randy's hero. Like he had even like the kid stuff that he would do, and he would do all these things. He was so part of the community, and I felt like when I watched him, it was Montreal sports
yeah,
to me. And so to know that Randy had become like a colleague, and then slowly a kind of a friend here and there, that we would play golf together, and he would tell me these stories of when he was covering the Habs in '93. And they were on the flight, and during the whole like Stanley Cup stuff, he's like, it was such a different time for the reporters and the journalists to be with the team.
yeah,
And he would tell me these stories, and I was like, oh man, he was better than what I expected him to be. So it made it even sweeter. Like that was the thing working at CTV was like, I got to meet these people, and they were actually better in person than I would have ever expected. You know, like,
yeah,
and
no,
it's a great feeling when that happens.
oh yeah, no, and it's like you're honoring your younger self in a
Yeah.
way too. Like you're like I mean I grew up, you know, watching people like Sookyun Lee on Much Music, people like George Strombolopoulos, etc. Like and you know, like you watch those people, and like for me, like watching Sookyun like probably in retrospect helped push me on the career path that I went on, and I got to tell her that, and she was very flattered by that. And you know, she was a great interview. She's lovely. Yeah, I also got to interview one of the guys from Prozac for Complex
Nice,
Canada.
nice. But so how are all these things happening? Is it you going out asking to see if there's those connections, or is it a mix of Cult Montreal? Is it a mix of like National Post as an example? Like,
Yeah,
was it
I
them
mean,
that reached out
yeah,
to you, or
well, yeah, like the Sum 41 thing fell into my lap very
that's
suddenly, which was like, whoa, holy shit.
how did you
But
react?
my
Yes, no problem.
my eyes bulged like this when I saw that
Are you
email.
sure you got the right number? Or you're like, my
Yeah.
uncle's not right here.
No, but yeah, I mean sometimes it's either me who pitches the story idea, or like sometimes like my editor will be like, hey, we really want to run this, like, are you down to do this interview? Or like, I mean, like as a journalist we get a lot of PR people like sending email blasts of like their
Mm-hmm.
clients who they want to get coverage for.
Yeah.
So yeah, like anytime I see like a publicist email me with a client who I feel is really deserving of a story, then I'll pursue it if I'm able to. So so yeah, but I mean like the Prozac one was totally my idea because like another like I was because at the time the guy who was editing for the music section of Complex Canada was my friend Eric, who has also been working for the Gazette for a while, and well, he is working for the Gazette, and yeah, but at the time he had an editorial job at Complex Canada, and so I decided like he was saying to me that like they wanted like retrospectives for like because this was 2023, like they wanted like retrospectives of like 1998
Yeah.
and it has to be Canadian. And I thought to myself, well, Prozac's first album came out in
It
1998,
works
so
out perfect. Yeah.
yeah, so let's go with that. And yeah, so I got to Zoom one of the guys from that duo, and yeah, he had some wild stories of his own from back in the day too. Like basically like that whole project started because like he and the other guy like got into a fist fight. Like
Oh shit.
they got into a physical altercation. And then they made up after and
Yeah.
started this project.
Dude, sometimes you need a good punch in the face to
Yeah,
realize.
exactly. No, like nothing like a good like haymaker
Yeah.
to the fucking nose to like
That'll
reset
wake your ass up.
your perspective on life. But yeah, and also just like stories of like performing at Paramount Canada's Wonderland and like opening for Destiny's Child there and meeting Beyonce when she was super young and like
Yeah,
stuff
it's
like
crazy the
that.
paths that people. You know, you said something funny. You know, sometimes you need a fucking punch in the face, and then you realize what the fuck is really going on here.
Yeah.
Was there a punch in the face that you had when it came to writing that you know you thought you were knocked out at one point, like maybe this shit isn't for me, and
Uh
now and I'm back. You know, like and then you decided like you know, talk to me about one of those challenges. Let's say that
I
really
mean,
stuck out.
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge for me is I mean, I guess now it might be imposter syndrome a little bit, but at the time or well at around the time of me graduating from journalism school, like there were a few years there where man, like I had such crippling self-doubt. Like
Mm,
I just I was afraid to pitch stories for a long time because I didn't feel as though anything I could come up with was good enough. It's just like, well, I'm just a guy. What do I have to contribute that is like meaningful to anyone? You know, like like I'll be honest, like I've struggled with low self-esteem like basically my whole life,
yeah.
and sometimes those insecurities can show themselves in stuff like that because I mean, like right after journalism school, like my top priority was finding a full-time job and in the industry, and I eventually worked at the YouTube channel Watch Mojo for a
Mm.
few years, and then I left that job in 2019, and then yeah, and I worked for some other content mill for like a year and a half, and yeah, like I and it was around that time where like I started thinking, you know what? Like I'm just gonna I'm just gonna try like figuring out how to pitch good stories and see if I can make something out of that because like for a few years like I felt pretty down and out
Mm.
like as far as like my place in the industry and do I even belong here? Like
Mm.
am I because you know like I know people say comparison is the thief of joy, but it's hard when you see people in your journalism like class that you like from years ago, you know, fucking getting these massive opportunities like I have one former classmate who like moved to Atlanta to work for CNN. I have others who have worked for like the Gazette full time, or like Global or CBC full time, or like, or I have one former classmate who ended up being Justin Trudeau's like press secretary in Ottawa. Like,
pretty pretty
you
big
know,
class.
and
Yeah,
it's
so
like,
that
and
fucks
it's
your head up.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's like it, like, and people can tell you all they want, like, oh, like, don't compare yourself to
It's
other people,
impossible.
like you can't. No, it's impossible. Like,
It's impossible.
it's hard because, like, you know that SpongeBob meme of like Squidward looking at SpongeBob and Patrick out the window, just like watching them,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you can't help
like,
but say
it was
what.
like I was Squidward in
Yeah.
that scenario.
and,
And
and it's tough, dude. Like, it's tough because you're watching all this happen, and then you're like, you're working and you're not seeing these things progress, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean?
yeah, it's just like, what are they doing so well that I'm not? Like, what instincts do they have that I don't?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess with time, and with me gaining experience that I have had since then, like, you start to think to yourself, like, well, are they really living the dream? Are they really living as charmed an existence as I think they are?
Yeah.
Or is it really not all that it's cracked up to be? Because, like I said earlier, like, the industry can be very volatile and at times exploitative. And, like, I've heard so many stories of like people, or like friends, acquaintances of mine who have worked at the CBC, and like how many like layoff meetings they've had to sit in, and like it just must be the most demoralizing shit, you
Dude,
know?
well, I can speak from the experience of working at CTV, right? And I loved my experience there for a long time. But I also noticed that there was a big like shift in one, like from what it used to be to what it was. There was a huge shift. So there was always like asking, do 10 more things with half the resources, as an example. We're trying to pay you less, trying to like, there's all these parts of it. So I'm not saying like, oh, poor me, I had still had a great life on certain elements, but it, for people from the outside, they saw me going to hockey games, they saw me going to concerts, but there was a lot of work that was going on in there. There was a lot of like, every November we knew that there was like a chopping block of people's heads that, one person I'll never forget. I walk into the office, say good morning to her. It was 9 o'clock. She was in the parking lot with her boxes after being there for 25 years. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't even know. They were like, "Oh, come into the boardroom," and boom, gone. And it was like, that was my first like time that I had seen that, like, really, of just
After 25 years
25
of working
years
there.
of working there.
Fucking hell, man.
So there is that side of it. And I think, when you had said the comparison, I remember there was a guy when I was studying music, and you just saw him, like, even in class, and I've mentioned this in some other episodes, of just fucking phenomenal. Like, he was already naturally gifted, and then his work ethic was just next level. And then he became the guitarist of Lauryn Hill. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, dude, he was on the Tonight Show, and I'm like, he's
No way.
toured, like, and he's an amazing guy, great guitarist, and all that stuff. And for a long time, I remember I was like, I don't belong. Like, I remember it was like an imposter, very big
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. And for me, it went the opposite. Like, I had made a decision that I was walking away from music. But, in the podcast too, like, again, that reappeared, the imposter syndrome. Like, what can I contribute? There's a
Yeah.
fucking million podcasts, like, there's just like, I started a few years ago, whatever it is, but really, like, putting effort into this, like, the thought of it started in like 2019.
Yeah.
And then it only produced into something in 2023 because I was so afraid of starting it,
Yeah.
And so for you to still like go there, but seeing now that it's starting to grow, like, I
Yeah.
almost like that break, in a sense, where you start feeling that imposter syndrome, is also the thing that does that still challenge you and makes you say, like, no, man, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, imposter syndrome is very real, for sure. Like, it's like, even with the relative amounts of success I've had in that domain, it's just like, wow, really? Me? I get to do this? Like, what am I doing that's like so much better than what other people are doing?
I'm sure other people that are seeing you are saying, what the fuck? How did he, like, they have their imposter. It's so wild because everyone is in their own head.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Like, the guys that you're talking about are probably saying, oh man, what's this guy doing that I'm
Yeah.
not doing,
Yeah, and I think in some cases that can, it can distract people from like why we do this, because it can bring people's egos out
Oh, big time.
sometimes. Like it's like that's one of the biggest criticisms I have about the industry, is that like obviously we're not rock stars, but there can be rock star egos
Oh yeah.
that you have to
Every
deal
industry
with.
has those fucking rock.
Yeah, but especially like in a public facing industry where you're like fishing for external validation in a way
Constantly.
through your talents. And yeah, and like I definitely had to deal with like some bullshit from other people, like some like people can get very like high off their own supply to the point where they feel like they have to condescend toward others and like
Yeah.
punch down on people in the industry, which is totally not why I got into this, you know? Like I feel like journalism is an inherently community driven
I know.
practice, and it's not one of those fields where you're supposed to, outdo each other. You're supposed to help each other. You're supposed to like you're supposed to help other journalists thrive, not just yourself. Like you're supposed to like I want to build camaraderie with my fellow writers. Like I don't want to view them as rivals. Like I don't want to view them as like adversaries. I want to view them as not just peers, but like friends, you know?
I have like the two sides, to be honest. There's my competitive side that I want to be the best. Like there's just that
Yeah.
like, and I don't mean the best over people. Like I want to bring my best.
Yeah.
And in the process, I'm like competing constantly with myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I am completely aligned with that idea of the community side of it, because the one of the main things for this show, as an example, was to highlight people that people don't usually get highlighted. Like,
Yeah.
they're always talking about some fucking huge person. It's like, hey guys, there's people that are on a smaller level that are
Yeah.
doing great things, that are helping people, or they're doing something different, or they're really passionate about their job, and they should get more eyeballs on whatever it is that they're working on. So to
Yeah.
me, it was like, there is a community. So to me, like even with all the past guests, like I created now this community of all the past guests, which now you'll finally get entered into the community, because that's the
Thank
only
you.
gatekeeping is
Thank
you have to
you.
be on the show, you know. And it's like, and I did that not for any other reason, but because I think everybody here has that sense of, I want to build something. I was passionate, and no one believed me at one point that I could do this, and I believed in myself. I want, like, so there's, everyone has this common denominator of like
Yeah.
character traits. And the goal of this is not to highlight some guy in New York City. It's to highlight guys that are walking down the street, the girls that are walking down the street, of just like, they're doing great things. We should support these people
Yeah.
before we glamorize all these other people we'll never ever meet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's incredible that you have an outlet for those voices to get exposed, you know? And again, like I thank you so much for inviting me on this show, because I feel honored that what I'm doing is like good enough for
Well,
me to be on here,
Well,
you know?
dude, it was something different. Like I'm telling you, that article, when I read it, I enjoyed the piece. It was short, it was sweet. It finally, I was, because it's always wine and beer and
Yeah.
food critics, and I'm like, I don't care about wine. I don't care about like like when I used to drink, for sure, whatever. But even at that, I was just like, it's a means to an end. I need to get drunk from this. So whichever one it is great. Food, same thing. I'm always like, I like food, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not this like foodie. I
Yeah,
like food.
and I mean Cult Montreal, like we have an entire food section. So
Yeah.
it already takes up like its own amount of oxygen
Exactly.
in the publication. So I mean, with weed being legalized federally, like and especially given like how strict weed laws in Quebec specifically are, like
man.
not just to consume them,
But
but
even
to,
the
but to
public-
grow them. Like it's so hard to get a permit to grow
Well, even to
weed
when you walk
here.
into a weed store in Ontario, or you walk into
Yeah.
one in Vancouver, you're walking into an experience.
Yeah.
Here, you're walking into a pharmacy. I
Yeah,
I
it's,
feel like it's very cold. It's very
Yeah, it's very stoic. It's very like it's very much it's the experience you would expect Francois Legault to approve of.
Yeah.
And that's not a compliment.
yeah.
And
It has no character.
yeah,
And
it's
so-
bland, it's beige, it's
It's so having this, like, for me was like, okay, at least it's the fun part. Like weed
Yeah.
is a fun thing to do. Like especially
Yeah.
you smoke with your friends, you have a laugh, you have a good time, you eat
Exactly.
great food or whatever it is. And the whole experience when you walk into the SQDC is the polar opposite of that emotion you get if with your buddy when you're with your buddies and you're smoking.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, when I saw the article, I was like, oh yeah, this is how it should be. It's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fun
yeah.
take on giving reviews.
Oh yeah, no, and that's exactly like what I tried doing with that column. I want it to be a place where I can, more or less let loose and like just let my personality shine through and not feel like I'm working with some rigid, structure. And I write those columns very much from the perspective of just me hanging out and like smoking some weed and just like doing whatever it is that I'm fucking doing in that moment while I'm smoking that strain, and like I said earlier, like it's really hard to get a permit to grow in Quebec relative to other provinces, and that's why I smoke like Quebec grown weed only for that column, because I want to put a spotlight on the people
grower,
in across Quebec who are able to grow and are like actively like doing it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, the moment it became legal, to me, it was like it should be treated like every other type of substance
Yeah.
that is marketed to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I look at alcohol. Like, alcohol is constantly in our face.
Yeah.
Now gambling, dude. When I was in TV,
Oh man.
dude, I can't do gambling. I can't do the gambling anymore. This is the one thing that I don't watch sports for much anymore.
Because it just shoves gambling ads in your face
10 years
constantly.
from now, I'm convinced the amount of degenerate gamblers we are going to have.
I'm
when it comes to
terrified of that. It's
wild.
literally one of the very worst vices you can have.
It's terrible. And even there's this one ad that I saw. It's running like crazy during the playoffs. The guy that is changing teams every 2 seconds plays bet. Plays bet. I don't know if you saw that one where he's like he starts off in an Oilers jersey and then he's like he's clearly betting on the game, and then you see somebody Calgary's like when he's like, oh, please bet, and now he's wearing a Calgary jersey, and then all of a sudden he's wearing a Toronto jersey and he's wearing a Habs jersey, and I'm like, so this guy in this one ad has shown like he was able to fucking make 10 bets that he's probably losing 9 out of 10, and he is constantly like, now the game is worth watching in a sense,
Yeah.
It's like that's the vibe. And to me, I'm like, guys, we are advertising like crazy. All these things that are probably 10 times worse for you, from alcohol to food, just in general. Even food advertising is insane. The gambling, and then weed, it's like, we don't talk about it. There's no
it's
ads.
just like,
It's bland.
yeah,
It's
like there's still like
the one
there's,
that does the least harm to you completely.
yeah,
out of all of
literally,
them.
and it's like it's insane to me, and like it's just so backwards, and it's like it's because people still have this like societal stigma of it, because like growing up, I didn't really smoke weed until like I was out of high school. Like
Okay.
I didn't really go to parties as much in high school at first. Like s- because I
Yeah,
like
there was a bad tone to it, man.
it was the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like I could very much still get arrested for possession, especially as a minor. And secondly, like it's this is Calgary we're talking about. Like it's fucking conservative, man.
Yeah.
Like it's like it, and I mean, obviously, like it was a different time, but like I still had that anxiety over it, and obviously now, there's a lot more acceptance toward cannabis in society, but I mean, there are still so many countries who like haven't legalized it on the grounds of like, oh, it's a gateway drug, oh, it'll give you psychosis, and it's like, bro, like do you know the artist The Streets from the UK?
It sounds familiar, but I wouldn't
Yeah,
say.
he
I
was
wouldn't.
like
I wouldn't say like, oh, I know them. I don't
he was
know.
like he's like this British, like I want to say rapper, but his style's more like spoken word in a
Okay.
way. It's like there's this one song called The Irony of It All where he plays two characters,
Okay.
one who's like this raging drunk and another who's like a huge stoner. It's like the irony of the fact that like whatever the raging drunk is doing is legal, but meanwhile the pothead who poses no threat to society is just eating pizza and just like chilling
Enjoy
on his
music.
couch. People think he should be in jail.
Well, I remember growing up. Like there's always that one ad of I don't maybe I'm old now, but the kid's like deflated on the couch,
Yeah.
and he's just like he's a loser basically. Like he's this like worst thing to society,
Yeah.
and it would be so hard on this image of like weed, and I was like, but it's not like this. Like even when I was a kid, because I'd smoked like I think my first joint was like 13,
Yeah.
you know, and so now would I suggest start smoking? No, but
No.
at the time too was like because it was so like it was dangerous. You know, it was like this idea. Like I thought it was the coolest thing. Like go meet with this random guy and he bought and it was like so exciting. You know
Well,
what
yeah,
I mean?
like
And I want to
because
be a rock star, so I was like,
well,
well, I
yeah,
don't
well, yeah. For some people, the illicit nature of it is the draw.
exactly. Like when I was a kid and I think about it, but then when I smoked, I was like, this is actually fun. You know what I mean? And then I went after, and then you got older, and then I'd stop for a period of time. And then when it was finally legalized, I was like, over the last whatever 5, 6 years, whatever it is, what a game changer. It's like you smoke, but there's no like it removed all that and it was still good.
Yeah.
And you realize like I don't need alcohol actually. Like I don't drink anymore pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really drink outside of social situations, to be honest. Like there's still like like I've had like 5 out of a 6 pack of Heineken in my fridge for like a few good weeks now, and I haven't like I only have cracked open one of them
For me,
like
it's
to watch a playoff game.
the Corona
So
Zeros are phenomenal. Like
yeah,
it's just, but that's how insanely like how like the alcohol industry has really dove into us that I'm willing to pay for a 0% because the concept of the beer is still very connected with a fun aspect.
yeah,
But I don't like the feeling of alcohol anymore. So this thing
no,
tastes
like
exactly like it without the after effects of it.
exactly.
And I'm like, okay, I have my for me it's like my perfect balance. It's tricking my brain, but it's not actually causing the damage that I
Yeah,
think it would normally do.
yeah, exactly. And like weed doesn't make me like as like like it doesn't make reality as much of a blur as
Yeah.
as it does if I'm like
Blasted.
piss drunk and then like puking
Yeah.
everywhere. Like weed doesn't give me that. Like
I know.
I don't get a hangover the next morning
There
from
is no
weed.
for you to get a hangover on weed, dude. What the fuck did you do? Like like what the fuck did you take? Like what did you smoke exactly? Because
Yeah.
you shouldn't really have maybe a bit of a fogginess here and there, but I mean
Yeah,
not
yeah,
much more
yeah.
than that. But back to the article, I think I love the fact that you're doing that. I find it
Thank
something
you.
different for anyone that is a smoker. You should check that out because it really is a fun way to be part of that community because it is like a wine tasting club in a sense. Like
A
there's
little
all these
bit.
places. It's like why isn't there this vibe of like we're getting together to smoke this strain and we're gonna try this and we're gonna talk like I felt like there was a community for people that are just smoking weed and wanted to be a little more in depth in it. So it caught my attention. Then obviously there was the whole other resume of stuff that came out of that. But
Yeah.
on my end, like how I wanted to kind of bring that up was, what are you excited about now? Like coming up, is there any projects or anything that you're trying to get? So if anyone is watching, maybe there's an opportunity that maybe could be lying ahead for
Yeah,
you. You know what I mean?
I mean, I have a couple pieces in the works for Cult Montreal, about like some local artists and initiatives, but I mean, obviously, my full time job, my that I'm currently doing, has made it a little challenging to have not only the time but the energy to pursue these projects, but yeah, I have some writing stuff coming up. I have some more YouTube stuff in the pipeline, obviously. So yeah, I'll be focusing on those things a lot. But I mean, ultimately, the dream is to get published in like much bigger like places. I mean, obviously, like I'd love to write for Billboard. I'd love to write for Rolling Stone. I'd love to write for like I'd love to write about music for the Gazette, for example. I'd love to write like I'd love to write for the CBC. I'd love to write for all these different places. And I mean, like ultimately, like those are like the infinity stones I still have to collect
Yeah.
in my career, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, like that's the goal. And like I've always been like a pretty ambitious like person in that regard, because like you want to see like how high you can get. Like you want to be on those stages, and you want to show people who have never heard of you prior to what you're doing, like you want to show them what you can do.
Yeah.
And like and a lot of the time, like succeeding in the industry requires like a great deal of not just ambition but drive also. Like there are, like when I was talking earlier about like the competitive mindset and like how some people can like let their sometimes risk letting their egos get in the way of like building community with their fellow journalists. Like I do feel like it's like there's a lot there are like being very driven and being very ambitious is like it can cause stuff like that to happen, but you know like it's about finding a balance between that and like not just you know like being like conscientious of like your relationships with fellow journalists, but like it's because I mean I know that I've been in situations where I probably let my ego like go a bit too far sometimes, but you know like ultimately like it's important to find time to relax and to you know take care of your mental health and just like spend some time just like sitting away from the industry for a bit, because like there like I find myself alternating between being very driven, very determined to succeed,
Yeah.
very like very willing to like do what it takes to like get ahead in the industry, but then on other occasions I am as lazy as the dude in the
Oh,
Big
dude,
Lebowski.
I feel you. That exact same feeling. I am a driven person. My whole life I've been driven. And then, to be honest, and I've said this in the past too, there was a life change when my kid happened. And, you know, she came into the picture. It changed my perspective of being driven. It's like,
Yeah,
why am I so driven for this? And what am I giving up?
yeah,
I think like that became the bigger question. It's not a question of not being driven. I found that having a kid actually made me focus more, of saying, okay, because if I'm doing this and it's not really something I want to do, well, I've just taken time away from my family.
yeah,
And I'm okay taking time away from the family. It's not a question about that, but it has to be something that I really feel is part of the mix that I'm looking for. And I agree with you. When those moments happen, you're so driven and you're in it, and you know making the YouTube stuff. I'm sure like when you're in the moment, it's like fuck. You could work till 4 o'clock in the morning, just
yeah,
go crazy, and then all of a sudden, you're out. You're gassed out. Like,
yeah.
and then you're like, it takes a week. Someone told me this when it comes to exercise. He's like, dude, you never skip 3 days in a row.
No,
You
exactly.
can't. Like, no matter what, you have to do. Like, if you skip one day, it happens. Off day, 2 days, push. The moment the third day happens, it's like 3 weeks later before you do anything again.
Yeah.
So, like, he was always like, never make it hit 3 days. Whatever it is that you do, if you're out of it, bro, like, and I don't feel like writing, just get the fuck up and write something on that third day. And it just reminds you why you love doing this. Because then you create this like weird story in your mind of how hard this becomes.
Yeah.
Why the fuck am I doing this?
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome is like knocking at the door. And he's like, hey, dude, I'm here. You know, I want to fuck with your head for the next week. You
Yeah,
know,
pretty
then
much.
you start
Yeah.
smoking more. Like to me, like I know, like you start smoking more because you don't want to think about it. So you
Yeah.
smoke a bit more. Like these are like my traits. I'm not saying you,
Yeah.
but I noticed that when that happens. So over the years, I started kind of like noticing when I'm falling in that pit,
Yeah.
and I've made like security measures, if anything, to stop me from going too deep into it, because then it could be 2 months and you did nothing.
Yeah. No, it's always a delicate balance. And I mean, at the end of the day, like I mean I'm a very driven and ambitious person a lot of the time too. And I know like I'm not going to pretend like that hasn't worked against me in some ways. Like I'm not going to pretend like I haven't let that get the best of me, but at the same time it's like you know, like I've learned that I have to balance, you know, that drive and that push to keep moving up and up and up in the industry with maintaining not just my mental health but also my energy levels,
Yeah.
because like if you work too hard or if you're like hustling too much, like you're gonna burn yourself out, you're gonna run yourself into the ground. And I've experienced that firsthand over the years, like I because I felt like I had to push myself to my absolute limits to like get to where I wanted to be. And after a while it can lead to diminishing returns.
Oh
Like
yeah. It
not just a lack of like reward for what you're doing, but just like
destroying what you've even
it
built.
just yeah, it destroys you mentally after a while. you know, it's like I've learned how important like taking breaks are. I've
Yeah.
learned how important self-care is. I've learned how important, you know, just like taking time away from it for a little bit just to reset and just like not think about it for a bit, you know, it like, you know,
You
just
need
it.
to remind yourself you need to have fun.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it sounds so basic, it sounds so crazy, but workaholics, like I know I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
I know that I could work all day, I could do it, and then but then I start losing sight of why I'm even working, and
Yeah.
then I stop having fun. I'm not smiling while I'm
Yeah,
working.
it feels like a chore.
Yeah, and then so that break, like you said, you need just something to say like it's just for fun. Like I can't explain like with the community group or whatever it is on Wednesdays now, we just play like a trivia.
Yeah.
It's one question to just like remind everyone like it's just a break of 15 minutes right now from 11:45 to 12 that
Yeah.
we're gonna play trivia. Uh, to just like I know everyone because I know everyone that's been on the podcast is very similar to this workaholic concept of just and
Yeah.
then everyone has had a moment that they're like this is too much, I need to have fun,
Yeah, cuz like
and you need that break just even if it's 15 minutes whatever it is of just laughing.
yeah, exactly. And especially cuz like I mean, obviously I finished university in the 2010s and
It's
like
been tough to
yeah, like and it's and it was a time, you know, where like hustle culture was like being promoted a lot
yeah,
and
stop sleeping.
yeah, it's like it's and even like and even during the pandemic, it's like don't waste a crisis. Like what like you have all the time in the world. Get up, do something, you know, do like be this, be that. Just like work hard on like if you're not working hard on something,
A loser.
you're a loser. You're not doing
Yeah,
anything. You're but in reality it's like bro like we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic like we're allowed to feel however we want about this, you know, like we're like you know like constantly being in work mode all the time because like I know I've had stretches of that where like I felt like I constantly had to hustle, where I constantly had to
yeah.
like be focused on work, like especially after university, like and after a while it takes a fucking toll on you, dude,
Well,
like
it's also you look at it from the perspective of working hard is not a problem, and taking a break isn't the problem either.
exactly.
You can't continue to work hard if you don't take a breather. You know what I mean? Like even a fucking swimmer, and someone told me this one's like it's like guitars or whatever. We tend to because we're not. It's not a wind instrument.
Yeah.
You want to just rip. And
Yeah.
he's like, so when you're soloing or you're improvising, he's like, you're constantly trying to fill up all the gaps and
Yeah.
playing. He's like, but if you played a wind instrument, you have to take a breath.
Yeah.
So your solos or your improvising, at a certain point, there will be silence so you can regain your breath and you could come back in. And he's like, remember that when you're doing anything in life, you
Yeah.
need the time to take a breath, to improvise better, to think better, to see where those chord structure is going to be if we have to keep it in a music context, and where do I want to go. And that break is actually helps your brain to reset and look at what you're really doing. Is it worth it? Is it worth doing that much work on this one? And also like kind of reevaluate what you're working on and like, does this make sense? Am I doing this right?
Yeah. Am I overextending
Am I
myself? Am
yeah.
I overthinking this?
Can I
Like
bring
there are a
someone
lot
else
of
in
yeah.
and talk and like we have a break, if you want to have a drink and you just talk with someone, you're like, what do you think of this? And just that break of I'm not thinking, like get someone else's opinion on something that you trust and validate, obviously. And you're like, oh, okay, I never would have thought of it. But had you not taken that break, you would have never had the time to completely change this process now that
Yeah.
can be so helpful for you.
Yeah, no, it's essential. I've had moments where I've been like on the verge of like a nervous breakdown from like how much pressure that I was like voluntarily putting myself under before, you know, before realizing, you know, like it's I don't have to do that necessarily.
Yeah. And I think that's where the maturity comes in. As you get older, you're like, wait a minute, this is just not good for me.
No,
Like
it's
and I need to do what's good for me first. So
yeah.
that way I could produce something that is valuable for someone else.
Yeah, and I think like once you develop those healthier habits and like once you know what helps you in like self-care and whatnot, like I think that's when you are able to produce your best work.
Yeah. Well, hey, Dave, man, look, I'm super happy. I'm grateful that you came here today. I know I
Dude,
was like
thank you.
I didn't think you were gonna make it. I was like when I saw the pictures from the game and I saw there was the doubles burger in the mix.
Oh,
I
dude,
said,
like
dude, those fucking burgers.
bro, I needed something to soak up the beer
Yeah,
with.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like when I saw that, I was like, let me send him a text this morning, like, dude, can you still make it? You know, like, because I know if it was me, that night would have ended at like 4 a.m. and I would have fucking died. You know what I mean? I would have been here and just been like, yeah, writing is good.
Oh
Writing is.
man, oh man,
So
yeah, no, I mean, like I knew I had this to wake up for, so like I knew I couldn't get too rowdy, but yeah, I mean that's why I ordered doubles on Uber Eats last night because like first of all, holy shit, doubles is on Uber Eats now, and secondly, like
yeah.
oh shit, I really want a burger now. And I mean honestly, like doubles, like it's possibly the best burger in
It's
Montreal.
great. It's a great burger. Like
It's
the
possibly
vibe
the
in there is
best.
great. The burger is great.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, it's like it's one of my favorite spots in the city
yeah.
now. Like it's got like that dive bar type charm to it, but
With
like
good food.
oh
Usually
yeah,
dive
the
bars,
food, but the food is like lights
yeah.
out.
Well, Danny's part of it too. Danny Smiles.
Okay, I think I follow him on Instagram, but I can't say I've ever met him.
We used to be in a band together.
Oh
Danny
no
and I. Yeah,
way.
yeah. That's why I know Danny, like even his new place Violon and everything. So
Holy
yeah,
shit.
so Danny, yeah, that's why when I knew the food automatically was gonna be
Yeah.
great, and then the other chefs too. Like I don't know the other guys,
Yeah, yeah,
I only
yeah.
know Danny, but I knew the food was gonna be good, and then the
Yeah.
vibe in there was gonna be chill. Danny's super chill, so it
Yeah,
was like
for
a great
sure.
mix of those guys. And I think if I remember right, one of the guys is in a really good band, the Last Waltz or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And some not the Last Waltz or the Waltz, something the Waltz. Like I can't remember, but the
Yeah.
name of the band. And I saw them live once at the Riz, I think, or whatever.
The
Anyways,
Ritz?
yeah, the Ritz on Jean Talon.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah. The
blanking out.
Castle No Metro, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, not too far. So I remember seeing them there once. I was like, whoa, these guys are fucking good. It was
Nice.
fucking fun to watch. But
Nice.
the vibe there is good. But again, back to you was like, thank you for being here. I know it was a rough night. You showed up, and you showed up, man.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just thought of another awesome celebrity interview that I got to do last year.
What'd you do?
It was with Justice, and
Oh shit!
yeah,
Yes,
and that is honestly one of the highlights of my entire career, to
that's
be
awesome,
honest,
man.
because like this is another reason why I love doing what I do even when it's hard. It's because, you know, like I get to interview people who like influenced me so much in my younger years, and like because like Justice, like that first album Cross was like that was monumental for me when I was in high school, and I just happened to have like a friend from Calgary, my friend Jess, who works in PR. She like her firm, the firm she was working at was doing Justice's campaign for their album release, and she was like, dude, like you like do you want to interview Justice? And I'm like,
Yes.
Holy fuck yes, because
You're
like
already starting to open up your laptop.
because they were about to play Oshiaga, right?
Okay.
And yeah, and it was incredible. I got to zoom Xavier and Gaspar from Justice
Nice.
while they were on tour in Mexico, and yeah, Xavier was doing most of the talking while wearing a Canadian tuxedo, basically. Meanwhile, Gaspar just stayed quiet and vaped the whole time.
It's funny when you meet. And how were you like at the end of the experience? How were you feeling knowing that you ended up talking to the people that kind of had a big
Oh,
influence on you?
I couldn't process it properly for like the first couple hours. I'm just like, what just happened?
It's wild, man. And then you also start realizing that they're humans too. Like, and then you forget that, like, you know, like this weird, there's this aura, but then during conversations, whatever, you just realized it. They're
Yeah.
taking shit like you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
Yeah.
a weird vibe where when you meet certain people, you're like, oh God, they're just regular people too at the same time. They
Yeah.
just do something really good and got noticed, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, like they and I mean they put out a really good album last year too. Like they
I didn't check it out, but
yeah, no, there's a couple of songs on there with one of my favorite artists, Tame Impala,
Oh, yeah.
and they're like
Great
they
life.
and those two are like peanut butter and jelly when you put them
it must have
together.
been awesome.
Yeah.
Well, dude, man, look, thank you for coming by. I'm so happy you shared the stories. Is there like for anybody that's watching where to follow you for YouTube or
Yeah,
anything? So that way at least you make sure that it's all the
Yeah.
right stuff.
Yeah, so well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored and flattered that you wanted me on your show. So thank you so much again for taking the time to chat with me and having me in this amazing setup you have here. And but yeah, people can follow me on I'm Dave underscore Mac Attack on pretty much every social platform, but I'm most often on Instagram and Blue Sky these days. So yeah, you can follow me at Dave underscore Macattack on Instagram, and I think I'm davemacattack.bsky.social on Blue Sky, and
YouTube.
my
Yeah.
YouTube channel Sound and Vision. I think it's sound underscore plus underscore vision because I think sound and vision was taken
Yeah.
obviously. So yeah, I think yeah, that's where you can follow my YouTube stuff. And yeah, I have more videos coming up in the pipeline very soon. So people should stay tuned for that because it's been a few months since I last uploaded anything.
Nice, man. Well, look, again, Dave, thank you so much for
Dude,
coming
thank
by.
you.
And this was fun, man, and getting to know you.
Yo, this was fucking great, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Dude. That's it. We're done.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you so much,
Good.
dude.
My pleasure.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.